Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of First and Goal. I am your host, First and Goal. Do me a favor if you haven't already. Follow me on X/Twitter at First and Goal underscore FNG. That's FIRSTANGOAL underscore FNG. Also, now available on YouTube and other platforms where you get all your podcast needs. Now, let's get into the show. Right, Panther fans, Panther Nation. Today is a special episode, and we have something big in store. For the first time ever on First and Goal, I'm bringing on a guest. You know him, you love him, my good friend iBLSmooth from X. And first things first, if you're not following him yet, you need to pause this right now and go hit that follow button. And that's at the B Lanecaster on X. All right. Make sure you guys get that going ASAP. This guy is a diehard Panther fan, just like the rest of us, with a football mind that's sharp as a tack. I've got mad respect and gratitude for Smooth since he's my first guest on FNG. I couldn't ask for a better dude to break down this Panthers offseason with me. So stick around as we dive into Smooth's background, the Panthers free agency haul, and how this team is shaping up after a tough 2024 season. So, Smooth, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing today?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, of course, man. I appreciate you coming on. As I said, you're my first guest ever here on First and Goal. So, the honor's all mine for sure. I really appreciate you having you here today. How's it going? How's your day going, man?
Man, it's going good. It's going good. I can't thank God for a better day. I mean, man, it's just every day is a great day to be able to wake up and just enjoy being here, dude. It's just great being able to interact with everybody, on Twitter and stuff, and just being able to see, what else Dan Morgan and Co can get into. It's exciting. It's an exciting time right now that we're in.
I love that. You're definitely right about that, man. Off season's super excited. Real quick, one time, man, before we get into everything, why don't you give a quick promotional on your Twitter handle? What was that about? What are we about? Who's my man Smooth? Let him know.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, I'm like just like he said, the ad is that the B Lancaster, Lancaster, or IBO Smooth. It's exciting, dude. I like to post a lot of stuff that, just kind of my take on stuff. I like to do some serious stuff, some breakdowns, kind of targets that I think the Panthers should do, just kind of my own just how I feel about it. And then also, I like to post some, funny stuff too, poke a little jokes here and there and stuff, and just be relaxed and be myself and just invite everybody to follow the page and interact along, and let's just keep growing this Panthers community, dude. It's awesome.
I love it, man. I love it. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree to that. Big reason why I invited you onto the podcast here is I've seen a lot of those posts that you're talking about, and they're excellent, man. Like I said, you got a sharp mind, keen sense for what the Panthers need and should be doing, and I love it, man. Again, I couldn't be more grateful than having you as my first guest here, man. So keep up the great work, man.
Yeah, appreciate that, bro. Appreciate you having on me here today.
Yeah, no problem, brother. So before we roll into all the madness and everything of the free agency and everything, the free agency frenzy, with IBL Smooth here, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, man? What's my man Smooth all about? And how'd you become a fan? Like, where are you from? Let's enlighten my listeners who you are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, first for that, I just want to kind of just let hey man, I really appreciate again just having me on here today. This is my first pod that I've been on as well, and going to be starting my pod here soon in the future, and hoping that goes all well. I'm just thankful for God giving me this opportunity just to be able to be Panthers Twitter community, just meeting people like you yourself, and just everybody else that you run into in the community, and it's awesome, man. But when it comes to kind of how I got started, dude, I got started as a Panther fan. I was pretty young, kind of growing up. I mean, I'm still young now, but my buddies and stuff that I had growing up, we played football at the little quarterback club that we had here locally and stuff. Everybody was just like, "Oh, we got to pick a team. Who's going to be our team?" And me personally, I picked it off of who had the best uniforms. I don't think anybody can disagree that the Panthers had the best uniforms in the NFL.
Amen to that, sir. Amen to that.
Exactly, dude, for sure. Yeah, I mean that was kind of my route, and I was young and stuff, so I wasn't super into football. I played it growing up and everything like that, throughout high school, but that was for sure one of my favorites. saw that and then got into it. And that was probably shoot right around the time that Cam Newton got drafted. Might have been 2010, but I know for sure it was maybe, it might have been 2011 if not mistaken. But, Cam came onto the scene and just, man, just that dude just brought so much light to the game of football itself, even for people that
Mm,
aren't Panthers fans. Cam himself is a legend. He's a great, and if you ask me, he should be in the Hall of Fame when
agreed,
it's all said
agreed.
and done. But yeah, dude, that's kind of how I got into it, and then just going through that. I remember 15 Super Bowl run. I got a buddy that's a huge Broncos fan as well, and
Oof.
that was one of our one of our exciting times, I guess you can say, that we had. Making it to the Super Bowl and everything, and that was the first of unfortunately many letdowns that I've had since then.
That's fair.
You
I'm sure
know,
that that card ride must have been quite interesting.
yeah. For sure, dude, for sure. It was, it was like I said, first and many, over
Hmm.
time, you just kind of get used to it and stuff. But, being able to start off my really big Panthers history, people, went on and, oh, he's a bandwagon. He likes him because they're in the Super Bowl. Sure, if you want to say that, but consider I'm a Panthers fan now to this day still, it's kind of like, can't really say that. We've had a lot of, a lot more downs than ups, ever since then. But, I
That's
love it,
fair.
dude. I love the game. I love the team. And, it's Panthers till we die, man. It's one of those things that, I'll always be a fan of. And yeah, man, it's kind of really how I got into it and stuff. And I'd say about a year, well, I'd say it was the 2020 season when I really got involved with, free agency signings and drafting and stuff like that. That's when I really started to take a look into it. And then, I've only been on the Twitter scene for about a year. I think I really started to dive into it, and that's kind of where I'm at now. And just continuously trying to grow and stuff, and just network and just meet everybody, and just have a blast, dude. It's fun. I love it.
No, that's awesome, man. I love that. I love that. That's for sure. And same, you know what I mean? It's definitely quite a ride, being on Twitter and everything, and meeting everybody is definitely fantastic. So again, you coming on here and giving us a little bit about your background and everything, we definitely appreciate that,
Sure.
my man. I love your background there, man. That's crazy. Are you from the Carolinas or?
No, so actually, no, I'm not. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
So definitely a bit away from Carolinas.
No,
You
that's
know, I've been to Carolinas a few times. I think I've probably been to a total of maybe 7 to 8 games now. I think some of them are
awesome.
away. Like Tennessee. Tennessee's close. Chicago's close for me. But actually, fun fact: I've never been to a game that the Panthers have won. So that kind of sucks.
I'm
But
sorry.
I've had some close calls. We played. It was the Browns. I think it was 2022 week one, I believe, with Baker when we had Baker.
Hmm.
And we went to that game. Me and my buddy, he's a huge Browns fan, and the Browns won on a walk-off field goal. So that again,
Oh, you mean that
another
67-yard field goal
yes,
made by
dude,
Cade
yes.
York, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable. That dude, just so you know, that dude doesn't even play
Yep.
football anymore, bro.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry. Yeah,
don't
that's ridiculous. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
had
Go
no
ahead.
idea where that came from. I did not think that he had it
My
in him, but of
God.
course he did.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. He had another 40 yards on that kick. He could have hit it.
hmm
He could have hit it from the parking lot. I mean, it
Yeah.
was, I
Yeah,
couldn't
literally.
believe that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is
Yeah.
how we lose, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you're not wrong. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but that, yeah,
No, no, yeah, for
you
sure.
sparked a nerve. Katie York? Are you kidding
Yeah, yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, dude, I get that, man. And that was kind of one of those things, for people that are new to the Panthers, Panthers team and stuff, that's kind of one of the things, there's just a lot of things that you're just kind of like, come on, man, how does that happen to me? And it's just like, well, we're the Panthers, so you're just gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah.
But hey, chips turning around, and I see the vision. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're just gonna have to keep chugging along, and trusting in Dan and Co. And I really think it can come up from here for sure.
No, I 100% agree, and that's definitely we're going to get into that. And the reason why I ask is because I'm also not from the Carolinas as well. I'm in New York, so that's why I asked. And I love to see again more Panther fans from out of the state. You know what I mean? That show love to the Carolinas. Like you got fans here that aren't even from the area, and I mean they're out here blood sweat and tears showing up to games regardless of the conditions, even possibly knowing the outcome of it not being a win, but just goes to show the testament of, this fan base. Like I said, my guy here's not even from the area, say out in Missouri, repping that Carolina blue, and I absolutely love to see that. That's what
Mm-hmm.
this is all about right here, brother. So keep on.
Repping the blue and the sea of red, man. I'm telling you what, ever since the Rams left, oh my gosh, dude, it's just you turn every corner and there's a new Chiefs fan that pops up. And of course,
Oh,
it happens right around the time that the Rams left, that the Chiefs get good and get Patrick Mahomes. Half the people you talk to don't even know anything about football. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, here we go. And then they
uh,
joke with me and want to throw some dirt out on me. It's like, all right, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it to the chin. I'll take it to the chin, and we'll move on. We'll get our lick back eventually. We almost did
no,
actually this past year. Speaking of that.
you're not wrong about that, brother. Absolutely. We are definitely on the rise, and you could see it definitely towards the end of the season there. I mean, Bryce, especially myself, a guy that's not just critical of one player, critical of all, but, definitely being a little more critical of Bryce. I've turned a new leaf myself. I mean, he's shown me in that last half of the season there everything I needed to see. And
Hmm.
more or less proved to me that, he's our guy. We talked about it a little bit briefly before coming on here. Basically, us kind of giving away the keys to the city, I like to say, or giving away the kitchen sink,
Hmm.
to acquire a guy, that the scouts and the experts that are saying it's a surefire, sure shot guy, I would like to see just things progress a little faster. That was all. But he's
Yeah.
shown that he stepped into that role. He's shown that. The big thing for me was that fourth quarter drive against Tampa Bay.
Hmm.
When he was able to go down there and take the lead and essentially, I don't think we won that game, but nonetheless, we still went down there and took the lead in the fourth quarter. And that for me is what separates good quarterbacks from great quarterbacks. That's another podcast, but I mean, how do you feel about that? Like quarterbacks being able to excel in the fourth quarter, where do you kind of hold that as a standard? Where do you see that?
Yeah, so honestly, dude, honestly, that's kind of one of my points that I bring up to a lot of people. We talk about how often do you see quarterbacks in this league that are game managers that win you a Super Bowl? It's
Mm-hmm.
not very often. I mean, in recent memory, who do we have? Nick Foles.
Right.
Run that. I mean, it's a long list of quarterbacks that are elite level talents, and these talents at quarterback that get you to the Super Bowl and win it. These guys have to be guys that can take over a game and win you a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing for me in that I see in Bryce is
Mm-hmm.
I see that clutch trait that he has in him. And that was something that he had at Bama. Nothing
Yes,
against
sir.
CJ and AR and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're all good in their own right, in their own ways. But that was one of the things that Bryce had going for him was his clutch ability. It was something that stuck out to me since day one. I'm slowly getting more into college football, but every time Bryce was on the screen, it
Mm-hmm.
was like, and I hate Bama. I'm not a Bama fan. I hate Alabama, and I'll never like them. But it
That's
was one of
fair.
those things that every time Bama came on the screen, it was like, how in the world is that kid doing that? I didn't even know who that dude. I didn't even know who. I take that back because I was actually following Bryce back in high school. Because that was a
Nice.
couple years ago, and that was one of the things I'm like, man, this kid's kind of good. And we had the same first name, so it kind of clicked for me. I'm a big
Okay.
Bryce Harper fan in the MLB as well, so
That's
just
fair.
kind of just a name thing. But yeah, it's that was one of my things, and he was on the I know he went to Modern Day, but it was before that he was on the I don't remember what school it was, but it was the Phantoms was the football team he was on,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I think I seen like his picture with that. I'm not sure, but yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, it was like a
Mm-hmm.
it was like a purple, gray,
Yep.
black kind of
Yes,
uniform,
sir.
and
Yes, sir.
it was just one of those things. I'm like, dude, this kid's good. This kid really has something to him. Then
Yeah.
he went from USC and then flipped over to Bama, and I'm like, what in the world, dude? Like, I hate Bama. Come on, dude. And
Mm-hmm.
kind of went on and didn't like him because of Bama, but when I realized, holy crap, we have a shot at getting this kid. I want him. As much as I've hated him the past couple of years because I hate Bama, it's
Yeah.
like, well, hey, let's bring him to the good side now. Let's bring him. So.
Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
mean, honestly, kind of back to what you were saying, I love that. I don't think a quarterback will be able to get you far in the playoffs unless they have some type of elite trait when it comes to taking over a game. And I think
Amen.
that clutch trait is a trait that you need for that. I mean, you look at guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen,
Yes, sir.
Lamar Jackson, although the latter two haven't shown they've gotten over the hump yet. they're
Hmm.
also going up against arguably the greatest quarterback of all time by the time his career is over. So it's kind of like, ooh, it's a little bit going into it. But
Sure.
again, just looking at that kind of stuff, and a big reason why I wasn't worried about the Falcons getting Kirk Cousins last year is because he doesn't have that. He has a great winning percentage throughout the regular season, and then what does Kirk do in the playoffs? He doesn't elevate his game, and it's kind of like that's my example of why I feel like quarterbacks do need that trait if you're expecting to win a Super Bowl.
Agreed 100%. And you hit it on the button with Cousins there. Yeah, he's definitely not going to win you the game if you're down. And
Mm-hmm.
I said it on an earlier podcast. Basically, when you win in the fourth quarter, you're not going to always be in a perfect position. You're not going to be winning the game by 30 points. You're not going to be winning by 20 points. Sometimes other teams score on you when there's less than a minute left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and 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 there's a lot of talk like, oh well, XYZ led up to the point. Yeah, da, 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 da. We're not going to talk about all that.
Mm-hmm.
We can win it right here, right now. Doesn't matter if you missed the field goal in the third or that first down or whatever had happened up to these circumstances. You can
Yes.
win it right here, right now. You need to turn on that clutch ability. You got to turn that superstar X factor on, however you want to, spin the analogy. But yes, you have to have that clutch ability to be able to turn it on, go out there, pressure's on, you're in enemy territory and you're able to drive down the field 80 yards, 90 yards when you couldn't do it
Mm-hmm.
all
Agreed.
game,
Agreed.
and win the game in the
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter. That is, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that is the epitome of a great quarterback
I
because
agree. I
that
agree.
is not easy by any means. By any means, it's already tough being a quarterback. You know what I mean? So I'll give you leeway there. But golly, man, throw in, hey, they just scored, they're up 4, you need a touchdown to win. I mean, that's the ultimate pressure in this game, folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Agreed.
ultimate pressure. And to be able to, stand and rise in that occasion and be able to own it, and not only own it, but do it in fashion. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, he when he did that, because it wasn't the first time, but that was the first time we got to see it. But when he did that, it just seems so natural. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay. I was like,
Yes.
there we go. I'm like, now that's what I wanted to see. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
this. He seemed so calm in that situation. And I was like blown away. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna get it right here. Cause golly, this dude he is so locked in, but he not locked in like, like fierce, intense, like locked in, like calm. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
normal. Like, like what is it, that one gif or meme, whatever, where from Pirates of the Caribbean, where the captain's walking down the ship and everything's like blowing up around him, and he's just like walking normal.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's what it was. He's just like he's the captain walking down, it just driving an 80-yard touchdown like he was Cam Newton playing Seattle. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's go. And that for me was like, okay, we can work with that. And then
Yep.
he can, started to show more progress. And now I'm one of these Bryce lovers. I'm praising him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
now we have something here, and it makes this offseason that much more exciting because now our conversation today isn't, hey, who do we like at quarterback? Our conversation today is going to be, we're setting up not only our franchise, but we're setting up Bryce as well to be able to compete this year, and that's super exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. 100%.
Speaking of the off season, let's get into that. Let's start talking about our recent moves in the free agency. To break it down for the listeners, we're gonna go into our free agency signings and our re-signings. Me and Smooth are gonna talk about that and break that down here. So Smooth, first things first, they just locked up some key pieces from last year's roster.
Mm-hmm.
Top of the list here, we got J.C. Horn,
My
corner.
guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mine as well. We got him on a 4-year extension for $100 million. That's record-setting for a defensive back. So he's the highest paid DB, ladies and gentlemen, in NFL history. If you did not know that, let's go. And yeah, that's absolutely crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, he played 15 games last year. I know that was kind of a knock on him, earning him a Pro Bowl nod, and he's locked in through 2029. What's your take? What do you think, man? Talk to
Yeah, so I mean, JC Horn, he's one of the players that I think every Panther fan can agree on. He's our guy. I mean, He was one of the first guys. I mean, he's literally one of our cornerstone players. Him, DB, Bryce. You can even add Chuba in there. But these are elite level talent players that we're talking about. When JC Horn is healthy, he is a top five corner in the league. If you ask me, I think
Agreed.
he is a straight lockdown corner. He's the kind of guy that he has his own island. I'm going to start calling it Horn Island this next year because I mean it's another reincarnation of Revis Island. I mean I think JC Horn is that good. He is the kind of guy that you don't go and see out here jabbering a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's not crazy. He's not super disrespectful and stuff when you see his like body language and stuff on the field. But when you see him mic'd up and stuff, oh, he's talking like he is going to be talking all game, and I love that. I mean, at that position, you need that type of player that is going to be able to get into the head of a receiver because especially like playing cornerback's got to be one of the hardest positions to play on the field, if you ask me.
Amen.
I mean, it's just being able to mirror somebody's body language and their routes and everything and trying to run their routes forward. Like it is a hard position to play. And the fact that JC is so good and people always talk about, oh, you passed up PS2 for JC. I call BS on that personally. I think PS2 is great. Don't get me wrong. He is
Okay.
probably the best cornerback in the league. Don't get me wrong. But I
Mm-hmm.
think if JC had the same health that PS2 has had so far, I think it would be a lot bigger or a lot closer of a conversation that people make it out to be.
I agree. I
And
think it would be a 1A 1B conversation.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
Go
I
ahead.
agree. I agree. I don't
Mhm.
think it would be as big of a gap as a lot of people, make it seem. So, that's how I feel just overall about JC. I would like to see, his turnovers, come up a little bit, but, I think that will come with time with him also being healthier. And then again, I mean, even if his turnovers aren't that high, I mean, that's not a big deal because the guy just doesn't really get targeted. People are scared to throw to his side of the field. And if you look at the statistics, it is proven that he doesn't get targeted a lot. I mean, his passer rating, I think I was reading the other day, was like he was top five in passer rating that quarterbacks allowed when they're targeting him.
Mhm.
And well, as in, it's the top five and the lowest, and that's how I feel about JC. I think he's a great player, and when it comes to the deal, sure, is it a lot of money? Yeah, it's a lot of money, but you have to look at the fact that one, he's 25, two, he's a cornerstone of our defense, and when it's not very common that Carolina pays their players. I mean, until recently, that's not been a thing, and it sucks because going through and having guys like Josh Norman, like man, I loved Josh Norman when he's on his team.
Jano's
And
my guy. Jano is
yeah,
my
dude.
guy. Shout out
He
to
was
Josh Norman. Go ahead.
agreed, man.
Sorry.
Agreed. No, dude, for sure. I mean, I love Norman, dude. I wanted him to stay here, and the fact that we lost him, it sucked, man. It really did, and it put a big hole in our team. Unfortunately, we had Bradbury at that time that kind of helped alleviate that, but it still sucked. And
Yeah.
but that's my thing, is seeing Dan and Co. being able to pay the players that have made their mark here and showed. And again, JC just said and he said in multiple interviews he wants to be here. And that is the
Mhm.
type of guy that when you have an elite player to position that wants to be here and has mentioned before wanting to stay with one team his entire career, come on, dude. That's just pay the man. Pay the man. He deserves it. And I don't know what else more to say about that. And in regarding the money on the contract, dude,
Mhm.
in 5 years from or 4 years, 5 years technically if you count the last of his rookie deal, five
Sure.
years from now, his salary that he's getting this year, people are going to be like, "Oh, that was a steal back then," because the market rises every year. And
Absolutely.
cap space, one of the big things that I've learned this year, shout out Alex Bryant, on Twitter. I
Mhm.
don't know his at, but he has, been a guy that, I've leaned on a lot with a lot of information and statistics and stuff and picking his
Sure.
brain about everything. And, that was one of the things that I noticed is he brought up a good point about, how much the market resets every year. The market does. It really does. If you look at the history, I mean, what, the past two seasons, I think the cap space has risen, golly, dude, at least 50 million. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, in 2 years, like next year, if it raises another 25 million, well, guess what? That entire JC Horn deal is just like, oh, it's just extra cat. It's not going to affect us as much as a lot of people would think. And knowing
No.
how much cap space is a very, what's the word? I don't want to say it's not real, but it's like,
It's malleable. It's very malleable.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
subject to change. Absolutely.
Say whenever you have a guy like Brant Tillis, oh my gosh, dude, I made a post the other day that said we need to make him a statue, and I meant that, dude. That dude is see, I mean, I didn't know too much about him coming
Sure.
from Kansas City, honestly. And I did some research and stuff, and just looking at Kansas City's how successful they've been at one drafting, pulling a brain from that front office is amazing in itself. And then two, knowing that he's the one that controls like all the contracts and stuff. Like he's the one that negotiated Pat's contract out
Yes, sir.
in Kansas City
It,
and stuff. Like, dude, oh my goodness! Like the
mhm.
future of this, and with David Tepper being the fourth richest owner of all sports in the United States, you better pay that man. Like pay him what he wants and keep him here. You know.
Absolutely. Amen. I mean, I 100% agree with you. Touch base on that real quick. I mean, when we first were in talks with getting, a new AGM or cap manager, whatever his position, basically, when I knew he was an option, I was one of the few, one of the people banging on the table for him because, what you just said, he was one of the big hands in that Patrick Mahomes contract. And if you know anything about Kansas City, if you're into football, even just not the Carolina Panthers here, you know that he signed for a mega contract. And the fact that they were able to sign him, but yet still retain high quality players
Hmm.
is incredible. And that's due to great cap management and financial management. And you've seen that, he has proven success already with Kansas City. So when he was an ability to acquire him, I'm like, yo, we got to get this guy. And then when we got him, I'm like, yo, this is fantastic for us.
Hmm.
And I also just made a post recently like, hey, we came a long way from Samir Sulian or whatever
Yes.
his
Yes.
name was, and I remember when we got him, he was doing some decent things with the cap, and he
Hmm.
did help lock in Derek Brown and all that. In the first initial set of his contract stages, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like, but we're a cap disaster. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Yep.
And now we get this guy. I mean, he's super good with the numbers, and I'm a big numbers guy myself. As you know, I'm really super into the analytics, so I knew that getting him was really going to help us. So, I mean, 100% can contest to what you're saying. You hit it right on the button. I mean, this guy is a gem. And a lot of, fans that watch football, they don't really look at those things as important, right? Whoever's, the guys that are in the office, signing paperwork, those guys aren't really important. But really, at the end of the day, as we talked about earlier, the off season is essentially where it all starts.
Hmm.
Like
Preach.
making those right decisions, right? Not even just personnel and player wise, just contract wise is probably the most critical because again, it sets you up for future success. If you're kicking stuff down the road, or kicking the can down the road too often, you're going to get into a year where now you have no money, you can't manage anything, and it's a mess. And we've been
Hmm.
dealing with that for so long. Like this has been an issue for many years for the Panthers. We've just always been in cap hell, and it's really unfortunate. And to finally get a guy that's like, hey, not just good with numbers, I excel with numbers, and you see it with the signings that we're going to talk about coming up, just how cap savvy
Hmm.
he's been with these moves and just in general. So it's
Yeah.
super exciting. And to touch base a little bit, I know we got off it, but Josh Norman, if folks didn't know, he was a fifth round pick from Coastal Carolina. Cornbread fed, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we developed and polished Josh Norman into the exciting career he had in Carolina and the breakout season in 2015. The
Hmm.
reason why I bring that back up is because I bumped into Josh Norman at my job. So really cool story on that. Long story short, to save the company FaceTime, I won't say where it is, but long story short, I'm in New York. New York team acquired him. He happened to be at the restaurant that I work at. Me being a diehard Panther fan and a huge Josh Norman fan, a lot of the team members were coming up to me like, there's a football player here. Do you know who he is? And they're asking me because they all know I'm big into football. And I'm like, oh, let me look. And I'm like, yeah, like starstruck. I'm like, wait, that's Josh Norman.
Hmm.
That's Josh
Yeah.
Norman. I'm like, that's a fifth round pick, Coast Carolina. Like that dude's an animal. Carolina legend. Like,
Hmm.
and they all know me, because obviously everyone knows I'm the Panther fan. So it's like, don't talk to him about, any New York team. So like when they like immediately all started laughing because like I'm fanboying on him and all that. So, I go up to him. I'm like, hey man, how's it going? Asking him like, how's everything? He's like, oh, it's good. Thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, I just wanted to know, just let you know, like, I'm a huge fan. And he was with somebody, I don't know, some chick or whatever. She's like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, yeah, you're, fifth round pick out of Coastal Carolina. I was like, me and my family, we go down to Spartanburg every year. And as soon as I said Spartanburg, he was like, Spartanburg. He was like, oh my God. He was like, yeah, you really are a real one. And we started talking for a minute. So I'm showing him pictures of like, me and my family down in Spartanburg. He was like, yo, that's crazy. He's like, if you got anything like to sign, man, I'll take some pictures with you. So long story short, we're just chopping it up. Really nice guy. Super, super down to earth. Nothing but nice things to say about Josh Norman. Yeah, he signed. I had an old, what was it, 2017? Yeah, 2017 training camp. What is it, program, just sitting in my car because I didn't have anything else. So like I ran out there. I was like, I got something. And so I found that in my car. I grabbed it out real quick and gave it to him. And he's seen it's got Luke Kuechly on it. So he's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I'm a real one here.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the girl he was with was like, wow. And, out here is crazy. You're in New York and you're, Panther fan. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm an oddball, but,
Yeah.
uh, so it was really cool. He took a couple pictures with me, really down to earth guy. And yeah, that was my 15 minutes of fame with Josh Norman. I loved it. So shout out to Josh Norman if you're listening, buddy. I appreciate the hospitality. You're a great man. So thank you so much. It's funny, man. It's funny days. But one thing is,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I wasn't as starstruck because I really wanted to ask him about the interception in 2015 when we were playing the Saints on Brandon Cooks for the game
Mm-hmm.
winner. When he made
Yep.
that interception, I was like, I was going nuts, man. I was going, and I wanted to ask him about it, but I was like, trying to be professional. You know what I mean?
You should
Obviously, on
ask
that.
him about OBJ.
Exactly. And then OBJ, like there would have been a few. Yeah, there's definitely some questions I had for him, but I like
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
be professional. Like he was eating. I didn't know if like that was like, I don't know, a girl he's talking to or something. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to be all up in his face, but I definitely couldn't let that opportunity pass me by. So I'm like, I'm going over there. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
So yeah, love J-No, man. That's my guy. That's awesome. But yeah, touching base on JC Horn. I mean, I agree with everything you said. He's definitely our cornerstone defensive back. You're 100% right about that being one of the hardest positions to play. I also played corner, safety all the way until college. I'm a big football guy my entire life, so I can contest to that. I was going to say when you were saying that it is a hard position to play, I'm like, you're right, especially when you got these athletes now trying to cover them on a 7 route. Oof, you're breaking your
Mm-hmm.
you're breaking your ankles, brother. I
Yep.
mean, these guys they're shifty. It's much more harder to lock these guys down. And then the way JC locks guys down, he's a press corner. Like he's on
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? He's gonna
Mm-hmm.
put his hands on you. So for him to put
Yep.
his hands on you and lock you up is crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
and to have, like you said, quarterback scared to throw his way. That's why he doesn't have the PFF grades that everybody likes to see. But to touch base on his PFF grade last season, he had a 64.5 overall, which is 86 out of 222 corners. So that's pretty solid. His pass rush grade was 86.9, very impressive, which is eighth out of 222 corners. His
Yeah.
run defense grade was 13th out of 222, and his coverage was a little less. But again, when guys aren't throwing your way, it's really hard for the analytics to break these down because they have to do it by a certain amount of attempts in XYZ. And again, if it's
Mm-hmm.
going by a certain amount of attempts and you're not getting those attempts, obviously your numbers are going to be different. So with
Yeah,
that
and
being,
also
go
point
ahead.
point real quick, I just want to throw
Yeah.
in there, point on that is, when you don't have a D line like the Panthers didn't last year,
Mm-hmm.
instead of covering the ball, just like Dave tells Bryce all the time, get it out in what is it, 2.7 seconds, something like that.
Yes, sir.
These corners that we had last year are covering receivers for what, 5 seconds, 5 plus maybe sometimes. I mean, it's just like we don't have a pass rush, and that's gonna make anybody's grades look down. I mean, you could put like I was saying earlier, you can put PS2 behind the Panthers defensive line, and his overall grades are going to go down too because you can
Amen.
only, I mean, as a corner, dude, you can only cover so long. So,
Absolutely.
that's definitely a point to put out there for sure.
100%. And that's definitely something I'm always going to take into consideration. Again, if your defensive line is given, if the quarterback has enough time to smoke 3 cigarettes before he throws the ball, doesn't matter who's back out there covering them, folks. They're going to get open. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to get open.
Yeah.
And it's a compliment to each other. The defensive line complements the secondary and then vice versa because coverage can lead to sacks.
Mm-hmm.
There is a thing called coverage sacks. So definitely it's yin and yang. Everybody needs to be doing their, your one of 11, as Canales likes to say. So yeah, everybody's got to be doing their part. So absolutely, if your D line's trash, it's going to hurt your coverage numbers. But
Mm-hmm.
even with that being said, he had a 57.9 grade, which is 136 out of 222. But still, I love that. I mean, this guy, regardless, he's going to get in your face. He's gonna strap you up. He's gonna put that seatbelt on you, and you ain't gonna catch the ball.
Amen to that.
And the best thing you said is that he's got that chip on his shoulder. He's going to come in. He's going to give you a little trash talk. He's going to get in your face and get in your head. And you're 100% right. Who does that remind me of? Josh Norman.
Hmm.
So it really is a beautiful thing, man, to have a guy like that and to have him locked in all the way until 2029. So I love it. Great take on that. I'm moving on. So next up, we got Mike Jackson, another cornerback. We got him 2 years, 14.5 million. He led the team, technically tied with J.C. Horn here at 17 pass deflections in last year, playing opposite of J.C. Horn. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, dude. I mean, the fact that, a lot of people talk down on Dan Morgan. I'm not one of those people. I mean, considering the state where the Panthers were coming off 2 wins and stuff when he really took over, you got a lot of stuff to do. I mean, you got a lot of holes to fill, and it's not something that you're gonna, fix in one offseason. And don't get me wrong,
Correct.
there's teams that have been doing it. Washington did it recently, Houston did it, but those teams coming off, you can argue that they were in a better position than the Panthers were coming off of that 2 win season just
Yes,
a
sir.
couple
I was
seasons or
just
two
gonna
seasons ago.
say, just gonna say,
So
situational is different.
yes,
Situation's different. Go
yes.
ahead. Go ahead.
100%. And the fact that we got Mike Jackson for a seventh round linebacker that wasn't going to make our team
Yeah.
and still I don't believe is on a roster right now, that is a steal of a trade. I mean, that was a beautiful trade that Dan Morgan made. And, I think Mike Jackson is very underrated cornerback. I'm not saying that he's, an elite tier or anything like that, but for what he does as a cornerback too, he is very, very solid at what he does. And, that's what you need. Obviously, everybody wants to have elite, everybody wants two elite corners, but when it comes to overall team and having to pay everybody, having a corner at his tier and his level is as good as it's going to get. And another thing with Mike Jackson, he's got that dog mentality. It's exactly like Dan Morgan has expressed, last offseason, this offseason. We need that. We need dogs. We need dogs on our team. And he's got that. I mean, I love just the energy that he gives from his interviews that he has. And again, he's not a guy that's, super, super outgoing. From what I see,
Mhm.
he's not a guy that's really crazy talkative, super cocky and stuff when it comes to these interviews. But dude, he just has a demeanor like, hey, like I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna kill you. Like, yeah, I want the ball more than you do, and I'm gonna prove it to you. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. That's what I love about that. And kind of like you said earlier, him and JC, the pass deflections, if I'm not mistaken, they were top three as a duo in the league.
Yes, sir.
They might have even been one if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, dude, I mean they were a good cornerback duo. And again, doing that with the defensive line that they played in front or behind of, oh my goodness. Imagine when we have a formidable defensive line and we have people that are gaining pressure. This defense I really feel like can make an improvement very quickly. And I really like that. And Mike Jackson just said in an interview as well after he was talking about, re-signing and everything, him and JC are pushing each other. I mean, that's what you need. And they both have very similar personalities from what it looks like in my perspective. They're both not super, expressive guys, but they're both just very calm demeanor and they just have that killer mentality that you need at that position. So I think that is a great signing, and I'm glad to finally see some consistency along some of our positions, on our team with these guys being signed now for at least the next 2 seasons. I love that.
No, I 100% agree, and you hit it right on the button with that. The biggest thing that we're gonna see, and that I'm the most excited about is the consistency, right? That's something, and I just said this on my last podcast. Like, that's something we haven't had here in a while, and even when we did have it with like Matt Rule, I mean, who felt real that confident about
Hmm.
moving into the following season with Matt Rule? Like
Yep.
nobody. You know what I mean? To where I feel so much more confident and so much more happy with the direction we're going. And then also keeping the pieces, like you said, we, pay the man, right? Something we don't do here in Carolina. We're not paying these players that are working their tails off and,
Hmm.
doing all the right things. We got to pay these guys. We got to show other players and the league that we're not a get right franchise.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? We're not like, hey, you can come here, or like what they used to say, the rehab franchise, the rehab team. Like, we are not that team. All right.
Hmm.
You're not going to come here and get your numbers right and go sign a big contract somewhere else. Like, you're going to come here to win championships. We're not doing that
Agreed.
no more.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
to have that consistency is honestly the biggest thing, and I love it. So bring it back, Mike Jackson. When you see him, like you said, dude had 17 pass deflections. He's all over the field. He's making plays. We're gonna let him go somewhere else after acquiring him through a steal? Absolutely not. You got to pay the man, keep him locked in, and keep the chemistry going. That's the biggest thing with the consistency is that you're developing chemistry. These
Yep.
guys are gelling. They know each other's ins and outs. Right now, they know, JC knows, Mike Jackson's daughter's name. They're going out and getting ice cream. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Things that really separate, just teammates from, friends. And like, hey, you're really gonna go to war for this guy because he was up all night with his daughter because she had an ear infection. Because yeah, you took her out, like I said, for ice cream the other day. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Those more meaningful connections, they translate on the field
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And having that consistency is 1,000% key. So I agree. Bringing back Mike Jackson was absolutely perfect. Even though I would still like us to see, us add somewhere in that room. Don't feel bad about, just rolling with Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn next season. If we were to say we were to get somebody like in the later rounds or something is in the cornerback room, I wouldn't
Yeah.
be terribly mad about it if we didn't like address it. Like I think we're good there.
Yeah,
But
I definitely think there's going to be. I think there's going to be. I'm pretty high on Shao Smith Wade. I believe that's how I pronounce his
yeah,
name, Shao or Chow.
yep, Charles Smith. Yeah, you got it right, Charles Smith. Right.
Yeah, I'm high on him. I think he's going to be again. I think he's a little underrated, and the
Agreed.
more that you kind of saw him get some playing time last year, I really thought I saw him kind of come into his own and stuff. And again, it's a
Mm-hmm.
rookie corner. Again, like I said earlier, corner's a hard position to play. You have to learn the game, and going from college to NFL is hard as itself, and then at that position, it's even harder. So I mean, that's one of those things that I think that he can definitely hold down this nickel job, but I
Yep.
think that we are for sure going to add another at least two pieces to that corner room for sure. I think that we're going to draft somebody, and I think that we are also going to sign one more corner depth piece just to have that because as much as I love JC, he does have injury history, so
Yep.
it's nice to definitely get that insurance.
Of course.
You can never have too many cornerbacks on a team. I always say.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong. Again, especially with our history and injuries and all of that.
Hmm.
Hopefully, Tepper will get grass since he's got all that money. You
Yeah.
got all that grass. Go
Yeah.
buy us some grass. We're
Yeah.
done. We're done with the turf here.
Hmm.
Oh man, golly. But moving on, I love that. I love that. So not only did we bring Jackson back, but we also have re-signed Austin Corbett.
Hmm.
The terms were released. I don't have the exact deal, but I know the contract was more friendly for us, given the injury history. But
Hmm.
it fits Dave Canales' scheme. What do you think? Talk to me about Austin Corbett.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very big fan on continuity, I believe is how you say it. Yes,
Continuity.
continuity.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
sir. I
that's the word
got
I'm
you.
saying.
It's all right.
Um,
I'm only able to do that because I'm not doing it by myself. If I was talking alone, I would be stumbling.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, man, I mean that's the continuity of it. I
Yes.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on an offensive line, anywhere really on a team that plays a huge role. Kind of like you said with Mike Jackson, JC. I mean, just being able to know each other's like when you have a guy like Corbett that's playing center. Well, hey, I got D. Lou to my left and Rob Hunt. Big Rob, love that man to my right, and
Oh yeah.
it's just being able to know their little niches that they have, and you
Mm-hmm.
can pick up on those and that'll help you better to play alongside them. I love that. And, getting Cade Mays back too. I mean, I'm really kind of, I'm excited about it. I think it's awesome. Also getting Brady Christensen coming back too. I mean, that whole entire offensive line is going to be back again for another season. Mind you, Cade Mays, Corbett, and Christensen all signed 1 year deals. So we're still going to have to see afterwards. But I think that is going to be a great time for us to see, hey, what's going on. Corbett, I believe, is 29, going to be 30 probably by next offseason. And, seeing
Sir.
his injury history,
Mm-hmm.
we have two younger. Well, actually, I think Christensen's actually probably 29 too, if I'm not mistaken. He's an older
See.
guy. And but I know Cade Mays for one. I mean, just being able to get him another season in the system and in the scheme. Well, he's only 25, so it's like, hey, I mean, there's so many options that you can go with next season. You really can't go wrong. And even if you want to, hey, get another guy in the draft this year. I am 100%. I think Dunk was saying it multiple times. I've seen him posted out there. Let's get another lineman, and I'm 100% on stacking out of strength because It's a strength for a reason. Keep it a strength. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep drafting. Let's keep that position afloat and let's see where it can take us. So I really think that all three of those signings are all great. I mean, all three of those guys can at least play, both guard spots and center. And then you got Brady who can play tackle. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that was just a master class again from Danico about being able to keep all three of those guys. That was a beautiful job, very well done, and
Agreed.
that's awesome.
No, 100% agreed. So yeah, Brady Christensen's 28, born in 96. So he's 28 years old, September 27th. So he'll be 29 sometime this year in
Hmm.
September. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. And we just talked about it. We just said it, right? Consistency.
Hmm.
Consistency is key. Again, the chemistry. When you go from a bottom offensive line to a top 10, top 8, we could even probably squeak into the top 5 there. That's how good it looked,
Yep.
offensive line, and you're getting that production, you have to retain these players. We can't keep doing the journeyman situation. We can't keep cycling. It can't be a revolving door. And I also said this on a pod before as well. It can't be a revolving door. You'll never get a handle on operations if it's a revolving door. It's
Hmm.
never going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of op you're running. It doesn't matter if you're running a business. It doesn't matter if you're running a football team. The bases are all generally the same here. You know what I mean? That's why,
Agreed.
when you go into business management, everybody's taught the same basis. Why? Because that's how businesses ran. Business
Hmm.
operates off a base. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And then you can obviously think outside of the box, do different critical thinking stuff, of course, absolutely, and do your own thing. But the bases are generally the same. Consistency is key. We'll never win if we're not being consistent.
Hmm.
And when you take something that was the worst and make it a strength, that's incredible. That is
Yep.
absolutely
Yep.
incredible. And, 100%, I love Austin Corbett, another guy I met as well at training camp. Talked to him for a little while. Really good guy, really down to earth. I was actually right when we acquired him from the Rams. He just had came over here, and I was like, hey, man, how's it feel to be here? Like, you just won a Super Bowl,
Hmm.
and,
Yeah.
and now you're playing in Carolina. Like, that's pretty crazy. But he was super nice. He was like, yeah, no, I love it, man. I'm super happy to be here. Real genuine, down to earth guy. So definitely love Corby. I personally was big on him transitioning to center. I know there was a lot of, hesitantness. I said this also in my last pod about him, being center. But if you watch the tape, you watch the guy just play, he's a ball player. It was going to be an easy transition, and it winded out being one for him.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
but great play from Cade Mays as well. We touched base on that, so we did tender him, so we got him for another year. I love that as well. He's basically we're grooming him to be our future center. So how you feel about Cade Mays? Talk to me about him real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cade Mace too. Like I said just a minute ago, he's 25. So it's nice to be able to have a guy that's young at the position too. I thought he filled in well. After Corbett came in, I thought Christensen played well too. I thought all three guys played well, and like I said, with him being young, he's kind of the guy that if he plays well this year, which I think he could, it's just a little bit sticky situation with Corbett there because with him being the veteran and stuff, you're kind of probably going to give him the starting job. And right now, I think Corbett's the better option as the starting center, but Cade Mays could be your option for longevity at the position. Because you got to think Timo, he's over 30. Delu, if I'm not mistaken, is 27. Hunt's 28. And Icky, I know he's still probably 24, 25-ish area.
Mhm.
So some of these guys, they're already over 25, they're getting closer to 30. And it's like, if we can get a guy like Mays who's 25, sign him to a long-term deal, and he can give us, top 10 center production, I don't think you can pass it up. And I think he's got it in him, honestly.
No, 100% agree with that. I think you hit it on the button. Having the foundation set, but not only just that, having a young foundation with proven talent already it's incredible, and it's very exciting where we are heading
Hmm.
as a
Agreed.
franchise right now. So we already talked space a little bit about Brady Christensen then. So since we did re-sign him as well for a 1 year contract, like he had mentioned, let's touch base with Tommy Tremble. We also re-signed Tommy Tremble.
Hmm.
aka TT, as I like to call him. We got him for a 2 year deal. He's a great blocker, with some receiving upside next to Jatavion Sanders. Talk to me about Tommy Tremble. How do you feel?
Yeah, so I've always been a big Tommy fan. I really like him. I know some of the people talked about his deal and oh, that's more than what he's got and stuff. But you also have to remember JT, even though he might be our tight end one, which he definitely showed flashes last year. JT's not making a lot of money. I mean, he's on his rookie deal. Just to be, just I mean, that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the time right now to pay Tommy this type of money. And 2 years from now, it's like, okay, well, that's already after JT finishes year three. So then he's going to be probably going on, I believe it's 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, for a fourth rounder. I think that's how long their contract is. So
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, he's going into his last year. So it's like, okay, then at that point you can kind of reassess, okay, has JT proven that he's our tight end one? And also, a lot of people I feel like don't know is you look at a lot of tight ends and linebackers, those two positions in the NFL, those typically take the longest to mature and to be able to develop into quality starters at those two positions. There's a lot that those two positions are asked to do. And,
Great.
that's why I see guys like Jay or Tommy. I
Mm-hmm.
think what is it? He's in going in his year five now, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the point where what? Maybe this is what he is. Maybe he's a quality number two, and I think he is a quality number two. He's one of the better number twos in the league, and that is just giving JT more time to say, hey, you know what? We have a quality guy that can plug in as our one if need be. He's a great blocker, and this gives JT just time to just develop. Hey, you don't have to rush. We got a guy like Tommy here that can let you just go at your own pace and hey, the sky's the limit for you, dude. And I really like it. And with him and Chuba being great, great teammates and stuff, and they're best friends, outside of the field, I love it, man. I love it. He's a great blocker. He's a receiving threat. He's very athletic. And just seeing all those three things and just kind of all the other points I hit on, I think it's a great signing. I really do. And 2 years from now, shoot, give him another 2 year deal. Let's see how he does. And I would be again, like I said, the continuity. I love it. I love just continuity among the team in general. As long as the guys have proven that they're worth it, and I think so far Tommy as a tight end two is showing that he's worth that position for sure.
And I couldn't agree more with you. And as we're talking and we're breaking it down here, we're just again seeing the consistent pattern of consistency. Like we're being consistent. It's the patterns right there in front of you. I mean, every time we talk about a guy, we're noticing that we're bringing them back for the camaraderie, as you already spoke of. That continuity. And that consistency. That is key, folks, to building a successful franchise. It's the only way. You build through the draft, you develop your players, and you keep them. You don't trade them off unless they're not performing to the standard or level you need to. It's basic operations. Like you do not get rid of people that you develop. You don't do that. It's bad for business, and
Hmm.
that's why players don't want to come here. And now we are finally proven and showing why players should come here with this consistency. And that's something that's going to go kind of under the radar and not talked about. But that's a big thing when people can see, when teams can see that, players see that, they are going to want to come to your team because they know that they can do something there and then also get paid and then also have a home. That's big for these players. Things
Yeah.
that people don't take into consideration. But no, I love that, man. I love it. You hit it on the button. As you've been all pod here, and I absolutely love it. But that's it for the re-signs. So let's move into the new blood. So Smooth, they went heavy on the defensive secondary and D line after
Hmm.
ranking dead last in a lot of spots last year. But first guy we got up for the new blood in the free agency frenzy here is going to be safety Trayvon Merrick. And
Hmm.
before I get into that real quick, folks, if you didn't know, I'm going to tell you anyways. Just know, last podcast in my blueprint, I had Trayvon Merrick in my blueprint to be one of our players. Just saying, not saying I'm the oracle, but saying that I might be doing something right here because
Yeah.
I'm getting pretty good at getting this right here. So, but no, I
Yeah.
watched a little tape on this guy and I was blown away. I couldn't even believe that he was available. I
Hmm.
was like, wait, what? But anyways, yeah, we were abysmal season last year. We'll get into the stats later, but we got Trayvon Merrick for 3 years, $51 million from the Raiders. Tell me why this is a big one, Smooth. Break it down.
Yeah, so I mean, just like you said, dude, when it comes to, a little bit kind of like a little point about me, When it
Hmm.
comes to later in the drafts, I haven't really taken note about like my first round draft. What's the word? Just kind of overall view on first round picks. I don't know. I haven't really like dived that super deep into it. But when it comes to later rounds, I'm very good at pointing out gems in the later rounds. You know, one of
Okay.
them last year that I really liked that I wanted the Panthers to hit the sixth round.
Hmm.
Nothing gets Cromedy, but I really wanted Bo Limmer. Bo
Okay.
Limmer, center out of Arkansas. I thought that that would have been a great pick for us in the sixth round. He was still available. He was there. We
Sure.
needed it for the insurance with Corbett and got picked up by the Rams. I'm not going to say he went and was an elite level center, but he definitely held his own for the most part from what I've seen from the film, the statistics, and a lot of Rams fans as well.
Okay.
I've seen that. So I'm like, man, look at that. That is a guy and the reason I bring that up is because Merrick was a guy coming out of TCU.
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm still getting college football, but TCU and
You're
Oregon are
good.
two of the teams that I really like. With it,
Okay.
with the whole uniform situation. That's kind of
Okay,
why,
that's very. I
you
mean, the
know,
TCU do got some nice unis. I ain't gonna lie. The
they
Horned
do,
Frogs
they
are pretty
do.
tough. I ain't gonna lie. Go ahead
They
though.
do, they do. But yeah, with Merrick coming out, I'm like, man, I really like this guy. And Raiders got him, all good, all there. But yeah, I mean, I was big on him coming out, and I think a lot of things that people don't see is Merrick is best. Can he play both positions of safety? Yes, but if you look at the film, this guy is better fitted for strong safety. He is better fitted for that run stuffing type of center. Can play up closer to the line, can play to the box. Is his niche. That
Yes,
is what
sir.
he excels at. And if you look and you watch the film, the Raiders had him playing at free safety the
Hmm.
first two seasons, or the first before last season,
Yeah,
for the
which
couple
was weird.
seasons.
Yeah, it was
Exact,
weird. But
yeah,
go ahead.
and him not really playing that at TCU kind of was a little weird. He
Yeah,
didn't really excel that much his first couple seasons, and then they moved him last season, and then now look, people are like, "Holy crap, who's this guy?" It's like, well, I could have told you who this guy was when he got drafted because I knew he had it in him this whole time. It just
amen.
wasn't playing a position or playing his right position. So,
Hmm.
for what the Panthers lacked in last year and needing such a better run defense, this guy is going to do wonders for this team. I mean, he was literally the seventh best run stopping safety in the league last year.
Sir.
He's a proven commodity. And again, you don't believe me, go watch the film with the Raiders last season and go watch his film at TCU. That's just what this guy does. And when I tell you this guy is a great tackler, he is a phenomenal tackler. And knowing how many arm tackles that we tried to do last year and how many people would run past, specifically our safeties,
Oh
drove me
yeah.
absolutely nuts. And knowing that we have a guy like this, it makes me happy. I mean, it does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he could play free safety if you need to,
Yeah.
but that's not where he's best fit at. But he also is very rangy, which is good for
Hmm.
his position. One of the biggest things for me, man, is kind of like I was saying, I'm very big with Dan on the dog mentality, and this guy has it. He is literally a dog, and if you just go watch his film, you can see it. You can see
Amen.
him jawing every single play, almost every single play. This guy's jawing, and if you go watch the Panthers and the Raiders games last year, it was hilarious because, dude, there was multiple times you'll see Merrick in Tommy Tremble's face, jawing up with them, shoving, just talking crap. And there's actually one specific play. It was a run to the left side. Merrick came up. And we know how big and athletic XL is. Leggett
Oh
is
yeah.
not a small person. And when I tell you that he threw that man and hit him right under the chin, and that dude, Leggett fell to his knees. Oh my gosh, he blew him up, and then he made the tackle right around the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, that is exactly what we need in our back end. That's
Sir.
exactly what we need. To make point of that as well, a lot of people, I'm high on Demani Richardson too. I love Demani Richardson. My fiance actually went to school in the town next to him.
Oh
She
wow.
went to the school down in Texas because that's where my fiance was actually from. Anyways,
Awesome. Awesome.
but yeah, she went to school next to him and stuff. I think they were in the same graduating class and everything.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I mean and again, that's another big reason why I'm high on Demani. I like
Sure.
him. I like to see him succeed. But again, his role, he's better fitted for strong safety too. I mean, if you look at the Panthers
Yeah.
last season, where was he playing? Most of the
Yeah.
time you saw him coming
Strong
up
safety. Yep.
and yeah,
Trying to
run it.
tackle.
Exactly,
Respectfully, he would try to
exactly,
tackle. I forgot who we were playing, but he came up and tried to hit somebody, and he just got literally ran over. And I'm like, oh,
exactly.
I was like,
And
sorry, buddy.
for sure, man. And exactly. I mean, he was undrafted and that's not always saying anything, but you
Yeah,
kind of have to temper your expectations a little bit.
of
But
course.
I'm still high on him, and I
Yeah.
think he can develop into a good safety, and especially just being able to not be thrusted into a starting role your second season after you already had a little hiccups last season. It's nice,
Hmm.
and learning behind a guy that has a very similar play style than you and Merrick. Oh my gosh, like that is just I love this signing. I really do, and I'm very big on his. I like a lot of guys. It's probably not the best thing to do, but I tend to judge a lot of guys off of their aura. It's just
Sure.
one of my things that I have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nothing
And
wrong with that. You're an energy guy. I love it. Same here, man. I'm an
hundred
energy
percent,
guy. Yes, sir.
100%. And
Hmm.
one of the big things is, dude, Merrick's hair, bro. I don't know what it is about that. I just thought it looked cool. He'd always have a visor sometimes. It just his overall gear and stuff. I'm like, oh, he's got the aura. He cut his hair. Unfortunately, you know what? I ain't gonna diss on it too much. It's
Yeah.
do your thing, bro. But yeah, man. I
Hmm.
mean, he's just got that aura to him in general that I'm like, man, this guy, he's gonna bring that demeanor to this defense that we need and that we were lacking last season. So I think it's a great signing. I love it personally.
Hey, man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you hit it right on the button, my guy. 100% was, in my opinion, our best signing. That's why I started with him. Safety was a devastating need for us last season, honestly, for many years now. If you've been a Panthers fan for a while, you should know we've been needing a safety since golly. I mean, I couldn't even tell you, man, the Mike Minter days. We just haven't
Mm-hmm.
really, like we had we had Coleman. I remember that. Some said Keon Coleman. We had Kurt Coleman. We had, Roman Harper. We had those guys. Don't get me wrong, but we never had like a developed safety. Right, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody
Yep.
that was like, next level generational talent that we are just developing. We have never really had that in, I mean, almost 2 decades, folks. That's crazy. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that's literally crazy that we have not done that, but we need to get on that level. Fortunately, we haven't drafted one, but I mean, Merrick is the closest thing. Like my guy said, he is a baller, man. He had 104 tackles last year. Like, talk about a tackling machine. This guy brings the juice. And you're absolutely right. Biggest thing beyond not being able to stop the run keep people out of the end zone that we had as a defense last year was 100% tackling. I mean, you said it, man. How many arm wrap, how many missed tackles? I mean, and again, I'll say this through and through. That's a coaching issue. Like the coaches
Yep.
need to get that better. Like you cannot be a good tackler but develop into a good tackler. Don't get me wrong, it's great to have a guy that's sure shot tackler like Merrick here. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to that. But yeah, man, getting a guy that can again come into that room, bring that aura per se that you said, that juice, like that presence. Hey, I'm here. You better get your tackling right, or I'm gonna let you know about it. Like we need that. We need that so desperately, and we got that. So 104 tackles. That's enough said right there. But not only that, the dude was also a former Jim Thorpe Award winner from TCU. So not only did the dude ball out at TCU, but he was the best. He was the best
Mm-hmm.
safety coming out of college that year. How, again, this guy fell to the second round is mind blowing. And a big reason that we talked about earlier, why I started doing this, because how are we allowing guys like, Merrick fall to the second round? Like that is just poor evaluation. You know what I mean? And again, these guys are getting paid big bucks to do these evaluations, and we're missing on that. Like it didn't take me no longer than 5 minutes watching
Mm-hmm.
this dude's tape to
Yeah.
be blown away. And like, how is this dude a second round pick? I mean,
Yep.
it happens in years and years. I mean, if you go back, look at Cam Chancellor. Cam Chancellor, I was just talking about this with my son. Cam Chancellor terrorized us for
Mm-hmm.
years in Seattle. That dude was a fifth round pick. Like,
Yep.
how does Cam Chancellor fall to the fifth round, folks? Beyond me. This ain't a Seattle podcast, but golly, I hate but love that guy
Mm-hmm.
because he just was so good. And again, playing that position myself, corner safety, golly, bro, that guy was incredible. The fact that he fell the fifth round makes no sense. This is why we do this. This is why we're talking. This is why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. But Merrick, absolutely fantastic signing. And just a tidbit before we move on to the next guy here, you nailed it on the button. Why he was playing free safety makes no sense to me. But best believe if you look at our depth chart right now, Trayvon Merrick is slotted in as our strong safety, folks. Just so you know, he will be our starting strong safety, which is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are we getting guys, we're getting guys that fit our scheme, that are young, that are proven talent, but also come with the juice, and
Yep.
we're utilizing them correctly, right? That's a big thing that, I can say as a Panthers fan for years. We get guys, but we don't properly utilize them. I mean,
Hmm.
how many games have you been tortured watching Christian McCaffrey catch that check down, my boy? Let's be
Hmm.
honest. Let's be honest about
Years.
it, folks. Let's be honest about it. Why is Christian McCaffrey the only person getting the ball? Like,
Hmm.
I don't understand. Like, don't get me wrong, he's great, but like, bro, there is other players on the team. Stop giving it to Christian McCaffrey every play. That's
Yeah.
why that's why he wanted out of Dodge.
Oh yeah.
He's like, they just keep giving me the ball, dude. Like, I can't, I'm not gonna survive doing this. Like,
Yep.
let's be real. So unbelievable, man. But getting him was absolutely my favorite signing next to the next guy we're going to talk about. And also, when we start to talk about him here, we'll circle back to the My Guy segment, hashtag My Guy, just so you know, Merrick is one of them. And then the next guy that we're going to talk about, Bobby Brown the third. I know when we were talking about it, you were real super excited about it. So what we do? We got him from the Rams, 3 years, 21 mil. Dude, 6'4", 328, run stopping machine. Smooth. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it, nail on the head, man. I mean, Bobby Brown, this dude is a mauler, and I can't stress this enough, dude. Saying this about dang near all the guys that we signed. Dog. I mean, literally dog. I mean, this is the kind of guy that you need that is just nasty, willing to get down in the trenches, work, and does not care. And that's the kind of guys you need on your defensive line and offensive line. And with this scheme, I like Evero, but I don't at the same time. I think sometimes when you realize, like last year, when you realize you don't have the personnel for your scheme to fit, you got to switch things up. And I didn't really see him do that. That's a whole different discussion for another day. But this guy fits the need. This guy is your typical nose tackle, and he's the kind of guy that we need in the middle of our defense to anchor that line. And a lot of things that people point out about. And this also goes to another guy that we signed. Having him on a line with DB. Oh my goodness, dude! It's
Nice.
like you're lining up next to a guy that is a top three defensive tackle in this league. You got
Absolutely.
him, Lawrence, and Chris Jones. I think DB is number three for sure.
Agreed.
And he's a beast, and that's going to open up so much more for everybody else. And when you have a guy that actually plays nose tackle, but that's the thing is, even though he's great at nose tackle, that's not his only position. Since
Right.
2021, he has played 37.7% of his snaps at nose tackle, and 47.4% of his snaps have came from a 3-4 eye tech. So it's yes, this guy excels so much at nose tackle, but he can rotate. And when you have a guy like Derek Brown, who's a great nose tackle too, and can
Yep.
play also the ends on our scheme, oh my goodness, dude, the amount of rotations that we're gonna have with Brown, Wharton and A-Rob, oh my gosh, dude, it's this. These are some great signings, man. These are really great signings. And also, one more little statistic I want to put out there is
Yep.
he was a 67.7% graded run defender last year out of all defensive interiors, which is 27th out of 219. And considering how bad we were last
Reach.
year, and it, I mean that is great. That is amazing to put. And then when you put in the fact that he's going to go against one of the, if not the best run defensive interior and Derek Brown in the league, dude, that number is only going to rise. And our run defense among our defensive line is going to take a huge jump this year. And I think a lot of people forget that we're getting Derek Brown back. And I like to look at it like, oh, guess what? We're signing Derek Brown because we didn't have him all last year. So it's
Yeah.
like, man, we are adding two great, phenomenal run defensive tackles, and that is going to help tremendously for our defense.
No, absolutely. And especially with a defense that struggled all season last year, stopping the run, stopping teams in general. But the biggest thing that we had, number one, in my eyes, was essentially that defensive line. We were not getting any type of cloggage when it came to the run lanes. We did nothing when it came to third downs and pass rush situations. Like, we could blitz all the linebackers and still struggle to get after the quarterback. It was abysmal. And yes, I mean the stats show it again being the worst, defense in NFL history, point related and also run defense related. Getting a guy like you said, Bobby Brown, having that type of run defense grade is a home run, ladies and gentlemen, a home
Mm-hmm.
run. We are literally addressing key needs The numbers don't lie. I say it all the time. The stats tell the story. Doesn't tell the whole story, but it tells you the story. It gives you a quick idea of really what's going on here. And the glaring need here is we need guys that can stop the run. Not
Hmm.
only is he proficient at that, this guy's only 24 years old, folks. 24 years old. So we just got an anchor that's going to be on the team for years to come.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's almost like a draft pick in a sense.
Yep.
Like we basically got a guy that's same age that we would be drafting somebody at 24 on a deal, which after a couple of seasons when his contract comes back up again, we're going to extend him. He's going to stick around. So this was a home run by any means. There's no doubt about that. And your stats, by the way, incredible, man. Great breakdown on that. That's I didn't realize he was that good at the run stopping until you had mentioned that. So I
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah,
love
for sure.
that. I absolutely love that. But all right, moving on. So again, he's another hashtag my guy. We'll talk about him again a little bit later here. Moving on. But next up, we got the edge rusher, outside linebacker Patrick Jones, the second on a 2-year, up to $20 million deal from the Vikings. He had 6.5 sacks last season. Smooth off the.
Yeah, so I mean Patrick Jones, don't kind of crazy amount to say for him just because, coming from the Vikings and stuff, he was a rotational pass rusher. It gives me a lot of DJ Wanham type vibes.
Sure.
It also helps that they both came from the Vikings. I think it's a great sign and I think it's great depth. Edge rushers, I mean, yeah, we're paying 10 million a year for him. I can't exactly recall the contract breakdown, but I know that it's a lot better deal than most see it when it comes to it just comes out to your 20 mil. And the contract breakdown is actually a lot better.
Correct. It is incentive based, not to try to cut you off there. It is
No,
incentive
yeah, yeah,
based.
yeah.
So you are correct about that. So it's not a 20 mil drop. So keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, 100%. And I think it's a great depth piece. It's kind of like corners. You can never have enough edge rushers. You always have to have guys that can come and rush the quarterback. And with him putting up 7 sacks in such short amount of or such small sample size, it gets me excited about his ceiling. It really does. And he's also a younger guy as well. Same thing with DJ Wanham. I mean, you saw how much rejuvenation DJ Wanham brought last year. Once he came back and got healthy, I mean, that guy. I mean, he literally, I'm not going to say he transformed our defensive line, but you saw his presence and you felt it, and it was one of those things where he definitely made his presence known, and it helped a lot, and I feel like you saw a lot more pressure getting to the quarterback with DJ Wanham coming back. And then again, you have Clowney, Wanham, and Pat Jones. At this stage of Clowney's career, they're all pretty similar. I think they can all put up roughly 7 sacks a year, and you guys have that they have good pass rushing moves. And when you have them all rotating, I mean, you got to think Pat Jones probably isn't going to start this upcoming season because it's probably still going to be Wanham and Clowney unless we add some more, which I think we will.
Mhm.
So Pat Jones is going to be playing the same type of
Roll.
position. Yeah, role is the
Yep.
is the right word I'm looking for. Same role that he played in Minnesota and putting up 7 sacks. 7 sacks from a role player. Oh my goodness, dude!
Yeah.
Like I'm paying $10 million a year for that for sure. Like that
Absolutely.
is that is great. So I think realistically we can see Wanham, Jones, and Clowney all hit 7 sacks this year, minimum five for sure, as long as everybody stay healthy. So I think it's a good signing. I like it, depth, and like I said, can never have too many pass rushers.
100% agree. And you hit it on the button there. So, yeah, looking at the, according to ourlad.com, basically the starting depth chart for Carolina currently before moving into the draft. I mean, you're right. It's going to be DJ Woodham on the right start and then Jadeveon Clowney on the left. So that's your starting edge rushers. Ironically enough, Trevin Wallace and Josie Jewell are still the starting middle linebackers, which I'm okay with. They have Patrick Jones behind DJ Woodham as of
Hmm.
right now.
Yeah.
So, which I love that. Again, having those guys in rotation with, DJ Johnson as well. I mean, that's looking at our defense now already just with these moves, not even going into the draft. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
And we still got a couple players to touch base on. Bobby Brown will be the starting nose tackle there with Derek Brown on the left. And then a gentleman that we haven't talked about yet, but we're getting to with Trayshawn Wharton. And golly, man, I mean, that is what a turnaround from last year. So since I brought him up, let's talk about him real fast. So Trayshawn Wharton, we got him 3 years, 45 to 54 million with incentive based contract. How do you feel about him? Talk to me, Smooth.
Yeah, for sure. So, real quick, just want to throw out there too. So, first name is Tershawn.
Oh, Tershawn. Sorry. Okay, I
Yeah.
got it wrong. All right.
No,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, you're good, man. You're good. No, because trust me, I was calling Merrick, I was calling him Mo Rig for the longest time until
Oh, no,
I think it was just like a day or two ago. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, dude, Tershawn Wharton, I think this is a phenomenal signing. I was definitely a little caught off guard by the financial aspect of it.
same when I first seen that deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not that I don't think not that he's not worth it, but a lot of people point out he's only had 1 year really of pretty good production, and that is definitely something that can raise some eyebrows. It did mine, and
Yeah.
a lot of people try to tie that into playing next to Chris Jones. And don't get me wrong, I 100% agree with that. But when you look at who he's going to play against next to Derek Brown, Derek Brown is not Chris Jones. Don't get me wrong, is the number one defensive tackle in the NFL. I think everybody can agree on that. Derek Brown is not far off from Chris Jones, and I think that that alone is going to help his elevate his production. You also have the when you also think about the different players that we have among the defensive line that can rotate with him, and just being able to just again have rotational pieces as long as everybody stays healthy. That's phenomenal for anybody. Just being able to take some time off and get some snaps off. That's great for everybody. Keeping everybody's energy high, motor high. That's great. He also, this past season, his pass rush win rate was actually very similar to Milton Williams. I believe it was the pass run win rate, or might have been pass rush win percent, or something like that. But it was very neck and neck with Milton Williams. So when you look at it, Milton Williams, if a lot of people were upset that we didn't get him, I'm just going to tell you right now, go compare his overall grade and his pass rush grade and his run defense grade, and you compare those with Tershawn Morton. I promise you, you're going to think different about. Holy crap! It sucks that we missed out on him because one, we paid him half the amount of money that Milton got, and their overall stats are very, very similar, or not stats, but like PFF grades are very
Yep.
overall similar. They both are the same type of defensive tackle.
Hmm.
They're both known for their pass rushing abilities. And neither of them are really super good run stuffers. But when you have a guy like Derek Brown, Bobby Brown, A Rob, you don't, if you have a guy on your defensive line that's not that great at run defense, it's not going to matter as much. And that's what we need from a defensive interior is pass rushing presence. And that's what Tershawn Wharton does. He's a great, phenomenal pass rusher from that position. And I think it's going to be great. I think he's going to fit in perfectly well with DB. Like I said earlier about the rotational pieces, that's going to be great. And also regarding his contract, realistically, if you look at the numbers and how this contract is broken down, it's really only a 2 year deal because he has no guaranteed money after the second year. So if something happens within the first 2 years and he is just not playing that well, it's an out, and I don't think there's a lot of money that we're going to miss out on, and we can cut him early. So that's another thing I want everybody to think about as well. And also, just a little fun fact: Tershawn Wharton is actually from St. Louis as well,
Okay.
and it's actually
Like
really
that.
cool because his grandma and my mother actually were coworkers. Hopefully, maybe in the future, I can maybe get him on a podcast episode. Fingers crossed. Let's maybe see if we can get something in the works. But yeah, dude,
Love it.
it's awesome. I'd love to be able to see something like that. And actually, another little fun fact too is I don't know if anybody saw that clip when when the Chiefs played in Carolina last year, but he is actually the Chiefs player that caught that kid that fell out of the railing.
Yeah,
I
I
don't,
did see that. I did see
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. That's cool.
I just thought that was, maybe God's way of saying, hey, you belong here. You're, you're gonna do some good for the city. So I just think it kind of, came full circle a little bit. So yeah, but yeah, I think it's a great sign, and I really do. I really do.
Nice. Yeah, I 100% agree to that. That's crazy though. Small world that he from the same area, so that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. So
Yep.
hey, if you're listening, buddy, make sure you get on my guy's pod when he gets it up and running. All right, definitely
100%, man.
got to get my guy. If you're listening, Mister Wharton, right? That's how you say it. And it's
Yes,
Tershawn. You
sir.
said correct,
Yes, sir.
Tershawn.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate that because that's a big thing. I like to try to get the names right. I know that's a
Yeah,
big
me
thing.
too, man.
I know that's a big thing with this. So I still, I'm still new to all this and getting it going. But we've made some progress. That's for sure. But yeah, no, I love the signing. You hit it on the button. This guy's going to be more of your third down, in your nickel packages there. He's going to be getting after the quarterback, when on passing situations. And then Bobby Brown's going to be in there when it's run, basically. And that's how this is going to be looking. He'll be out there no matter what. But, to give folks an idea of how it's going to look, he's going to excel in those pass rush situations, Tershawn, and then Bobby Brown's going to excel on those run down situations. So that's what we're looking at with these guys.
Hmm.
I'm super, happy with that signing. I was definitely kind of like, with the money, but again, this guy did win two Super Bowls. He's gonna come with a decent price tag, and like my man Smooth said here already, not getting was it Milton Williams? Was it? I forgot his name since we didn't really get him. I didn't dig too deep into it, but the
Hey, real
one,
quick, man, just wanted to throw this out there. I actually just
yeah.
got the notification that T. Higgins has officially extended with the Bengals.
Oof. Okay, you heard it here first, folks. While we're recording live here, T. Higgins is off the market.
He didn't even get 30 million either. He is looks like he's going to be at 28 and three quarters per season. So didn't even crack the DK mark. So
Look
it's
at that.
another little point out there.
I like that. I like that. But you heard it here first, folks. Live in recording. T. Higgins is off the market. That's big. We definitely need to address that need for sure. We do need another wide receiver. But before we get into that, like I was saying, us acquiring Tershawn and Bobby Brown was less than the gentleman that everybody was up in arms about, Mr. Williams. Milton was his name. Milton Williams. Am I saying that right? Or
Yeah, yeah.
okay, perfect. Yeah, the gentleman from Philadelphia. They're two contracts together are still less than what the Patriots winded up signing that gentleman for. And not for nothing, I would take 2 for 1 all day, especially with the way the Panthers are in their state currently.
Hmm.
But moving on, I love that. I love that. Now, still in the defense here, we're looking at a linebacker that we kind of got recently, and a lot of people probably weren't too sure of who he was, but Christian Roseboom. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. But from the Rams, he just got a contract with us. Obviously, this isn't a big signing for most people, but I love the depth piece here. Not for nothing. I believe he can compete for that starting role next to Josie Jewell. How do you feel about Mr. Roseboom?
Yeah, so first off, I just want to shout out he had Jesus is King hat on. I really like that. So I just want to give that a little shout out too. So I like that, Mr. Roseboom.
Yes,
But yeah,
sir.
man,
Amen.
I think it's gonna be I think it's a great signing. I think again, just depth. You can never have enough depth, especially after this past season. See how many injuries that we went through. Man, it was rough last year. It was rough. I mean, we were pulling up guys from practice squads across the league left and right, man, and it sucked. It really did. So I think this is a great signing, great depth signing. I'm excited to see how it is. I don't know too much about Rose Boom, but I know he's a solid linebacker. I know some of the Rams fans that I've seen interact and that I've interacted with, are sad to see him go, but at the same time, it's not like he's elite linebacker or anything like that. So, some of them are like, hey, like it is what it is. But yeah, I think overall it's just a good depth signing, and I think I love the flow. I love the hair flow that he's got. So I think that'll be nice to
Yeah,
see, and I think he'll fit in well.
yeah, you're right about that. Some definitely nice hair. You can't
Hmm.
discriminate that.
So I'm not mistaken. I think there was, I think I was looking and he had probably 90 something, 100 something tackles, I think. Not this past season, but the year before that.
No, he snapped last season. Apparently, he had like 100 plus tackles in 13 games. It was crazy. I'm like, wait,
You're
what?
right. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking at it
it's
right now.
yes, sir. It's like 113 tackles, and he only played 13 games last year. That is crazy. So the dude's a literally tackling machine.
Hmm.
So yeah, under the radar signing, not your flashy, big name, but this is one of those what I like to call very smart and cap friendly move here. You're getting a
Hmm.
guy that's going to address a need, probably take over a starting role for you, and you're getting him at a cap friendly contract. And nobody even knows who this guy is. But if you're a Rams fan, when they're calling his name out when he's making a tackle, you're going to know who he is because he's got the best name in the NFL. Everybody loves that.
Hmm.
But definitely a solid depth guy. Not nothing to go and run and tell the family about. But watch for Roseboom to take that starting job 100% when training camp
Yeah.
comes. I'm calling it.
Yeah, I like that too, actually, because last year Dave kind of talked about before the season how he wanted to ease Trevin into the linebacker role, and like I said earlier, linebacker is a very hard position to learn, and typically you don't see them really break out to year two or three.
Amen.
And I think, that's why I was really wanting to bring Shaq back, at least for a 1 year deal. Plus, he's just a Carolina legend.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like to be the case. But, I think Roseboom, with him being 28 years old, I wouldn't be upset with him and Josie running the, 1 and 2,
Hmm.
and then, letting Trevin kind of rotate, and then maybe by the end of the season, next thing you know, let Trevin kind of adapt to the NFL better and stuff, because he definitely showed some flashes last year. And the next thing you know,
Oh
we
yeah.
have a very good linebacker on our hands, and I think that's definitely how it can be with Trevin for sure.
No, absolutely. I'm super big on Trevin. Trevin was one of my guys last year, so when we got him, I was definitely very happy for him. He's going to come along and be really good for us.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But I would honestly like to see him kind of learn, this year instead of just throwing him
Yeah.
out there. Something we don't do, and a lot of teams that do have success with their draft picks, they kind of let them come along slow.
Yeah.
And we got to kind of do that, with our guys here, not getting in too much about it. But yeah, if we could, bring Trevin on a little bit slower, kind of let Roseboom take that, lead that starting role and let him rotate in, I
Hmm.
think that would be absolutely ideal because this guy's a tackling machine. He's going to sniff out the run. We need that. I love that. And he's got, he's proven experience already. And I would take that over, year pro one for Trevin, last year being his rookie year. But I love what we're doing here. As you see, the defense was 100% the focus this free agency and this offseason. And I'll say it right now, it dang well better be, especially
Hmm.
after what we've seen. You know what I mean? Absolutely
Yeah.
unacceptable. We need to get that defense right. And I love everybody on Twitter, but please miss me with the, priority, wide receiver, priority tight end. Golly, guys, I know you were watching the same game I was. Doesn't matter if we score 100 points if we're giving up 200 points every game.
Hmm.
It
Yep.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many points we can score if we're giving up way more than we can chew. We're biting off more than we can chew here, and we got to stop doing that. And these literal moves, scream that.
Yeah.
Defense
Yep.
wins championships. We're going to bring it back to old school. That's how I am. I'm old school, smash mouth guy. Absolutely 100% to the grid. That's how I roll. So I love to see that we're answering this defense. It already looks so much better on paper. We still have some holes that we have to fill, but that's what the draft's for. So
Hmm.
moving on to the offensive side here, we had a signing, and that's going to be the gentleman. I'm probably going to kill his last name here, but Rico Dwaddle or Dodal. I'm not sure how you would
I think
say
it's
it.
Dowdle, if
Yeah,
I'm not
Dowdle.
mistaken.
Yeah, Dowdle. There you go. It's Dowdle. You're 100% right. So, yeah, Rico Dowdle. We got him for 1 year. Obviously, JB is going to be down this season. If you didn't know, that's more than likely going to be the case, folks. Jonathan Brooks will not be taking any snaps next season or this upcoming season. That's why we got Rico here. Talk to me about Rico. How do you like it? What do you like?
Yeah, man. So this is a beautiful signing. It really is.
Okay.
1 year deals you can really only enjoy so much, but this is one of them with kind of like you said, Brooks is going to be out this season. Very unfortunate, very, very high on Brooks.
Same.
So I'm excited to see what his future is. But this is a very Brooks type player.
Okay.
I see the vision that Dan and them have. I was very surprised that he kind of came back. I thought, knowing Dallas had so many issues last year with the run in general, I thought they would, re-sign him. But hey, guess what? One man's trash is another man's treasure, and I can't even say that because Dowdle's not trash. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's just straight up good. And, last year he proved, especially at the end of the last season, he took off. I mean, he showed that he can be a running back one. And to think about that, you look at running back duos across the league, this is a top three running back duo in the league. Realistically, the only people I can name off the top of my head is the Lions backfield and there's one other backfield I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's somebody else that also has another really good backfield. But regardless, that is just showing you like this is going to be a very good two-headed monster. And I think that their play style is meshed with Chuba and Daddle. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going to be great. Rico is going to come in and really give us a good pass catching threat out of the backfield.
Amen.
And I mean, man, the fact that we literally cut Miles Sanders and we basically took the money that we saved from Miles Sanders and signed Dowdle and Christensen, golly, dude, I can't stress enough how amazing of a job Dan Morgan and Brent Tillis have been doing, man. It is beautiful, and he's going to fit very well in this scheme. Like I said, being able to take time off, run a lot more two backs in the backfield. I mean, this is I can't stress enough, dude. This is a great signing. This is really a great signing. This just gives us even more weapons, and obviously, I'd like to see some more pass catchers and stuff that Bryce can throw to.
Sure.
But no, dude, this is great, and I really think that the Panthers are going to draft more and sign some
Mm-hmm.
undrafted free agents for the position. And with the way that running back position is looked at nowadays, you can get elite running backs in the late rounds,
Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
starting to become very common. So picking up a guy in the fifth or sixth round, I mean, what we have three fifth-round picks. Okay, go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and go grab me a running back with one of those picks, and I'm sitting pretty solid with this running back room for sure.
No, absolutely. And I love that. Yes, I 100% agree. The big thing with my big knock with Miles Sanders wasn't just how we were utilizing him and him not really putting out the production. But C is going to be the main thing was he wasn't used as that pass catching running back. And it baffled me. I'm like, dude, this guy is literally like Chuba is like your workhorse. Let Miles Sanders run those quick underneath routes. Let him hit them wheel routes, whatever you want to utilize him in, but get him out there on them third downs. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like let him utilize those skill sets. You know what I mean? And we just didn't really utilize him in that pass catching role. So again, savvy moves from Brant and Dan Morgan here to, like you said, shop Miles and reallocate those funds to grabbing, Rico here, who, if you watch this guy's tape, folks, he's cooking out there when it comes to that pass catching role. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's what the Miles Sanders that we were expecting to get. That's the production we're going to see. Again, it's, to be determined, but that's the production we can kind of expect out of Rico in that pass catching role. He's gonna light it up underneath. He's shifty, you know what I mean. He's no Christian McCaffrey by any means, but he's got elements of that play style where he's gonna break your ankle. He's gonna hurt you underneath, and you better make sure you got a corner on him because if you got a linebacker on him, it's a mismatch automatically. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Agreed.
it's a great move for sure. And it takes a little pressure off of Chuba, and it really honestly gave us a new dynamic to that running back room and to the offense. So I 100% agree. But moving on, so we did get a punter, and I usually don't try to talk too much about that, especially because we are running the show long here, but that's all right. I do want to talk about this quickly because I said on my last podcast we need to address this, and that is the special teams. That's the kicker and the punter. So we did
Mm-hmm.
sign Sam Martin from the Bills to replace Johnny Hecker. And me personally, I don't dislike Johnny Hecker. I just felt like he didn't really do his job as a punter. And when you look at his numbers, they're not great. They're not terrible either. But he didn't have a leg. I felt like
Yep.
every time we punted the ball from like our 20, it's going to we're on their 40. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, or even when we're in a position to pin them in, like he's never kicking it out of bounds, like inside the 5 or inside the 10, nothing. Like we'll be in the 40 or 50 because Eddie Pinero can't kick further than 45 yards. So we'll be on the 50-yard line and this dude's still not punting it in the 20 or in the
Mm-hmm.
10 out of bounds. Like none of that. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? Kick it out of bounds. Like you're not on
Yeah.
it's not the kickoff. You're not gonna get a penalty. Like you can kick it out of bounds here. You know what I mean? You're
Yep.
punting. You know what I mean? Like pin them deep, bro. Set us up. Like, and I've been screaming for this on my earlier podcast here, man, because this is an element of the game that really gets lost. People don't talk about, but I like to talk about it. Yeah, man. Kickers, punters, they matter, folks. They
Yep.
matter. And I know it doesn't seem like it, but I say it all the time. How many Super Bowls, not let alone games, how many Super Bowls has Tom Brady won on a kick? Folks, if you're a Panthers fan, at least one because it was against
Mm-hmm.
us. All right. You know what I mean? I remember that very specifically because it broke my heart. You know what I mean? But talk to me, Smooth. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a good signing. I have a buddy that's also a Bills fan. I got buddies that are fans of every team. It seems like, but yeah, I mean, he kind of gave me a little bit of insight. He's a decent punter. Nothing crazy. I kind of wish maybe we would have went younger at the position. Just because Hector's 35, Martin's 35. It's kind of like. We're still going to see this revolving door, but there was an interview that I believe Dave was the one that was talking about it, but he did say that he wanted a veteran in that system, whether that's punter or kicker, which completely get that, completely true. So not really worried too much about that. I think it's kind of like Dave said. I think it is nice to have a veteran in that room, especially because I know they signed Matthew Wright, and I'm sure they're probably going to sign an undrafted free agent to come in and kick. There's some decent kickers coming out of college this year that I'd like to sign and have a little
Sure, sure.
battle in training camp. And I like it. I just like I said, the Bills didn't punt a lot last year either.
Right, right.
Martin was tied for 24th last year in punts. He only had 54 in the
Yep. Just so you know, too, folks,
so
that's a good problem to have. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I agree. That's my thing. It's like, I don't know. I'm a little 50-50 on a situation. I mean, it's kind of just a
Sure.
stopgap 1 year deal. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
you can only feel so much about it. And,
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know, so I don't know, probably like a C for me, I guess, nothing too crazy, nothing too bad, just kind of like a stopgap kind of situation.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely a filler, for, no doubt. I agree with you. I would like to go younger at that position. I just don't think there is the options, like you said. Good chance that we draft here at this position. That's why
Hmm.
we got another vet. But in between, with subsequently, we also got a guy that, as I was complaining about Hecker not being good at pinning them inside the 20, that happened to be one of Sam Martin's proficiencies. So he was actually really better than league average at pinning people, inside the 20 or lower. So
Hmm.
I like that. So at least, again, I know Dan's listening. Dan Morgan, I know you're listening, buddy, because too many things have been happening. It's getting a little suspect here. I just kidding. I just kidding. But seriously though, no, it's yeah, thank God, because I know that seems, folks, I get it. It doesn't really seem like an element of factor, but it does. Like, if you can
Hmm.
pin teams inside the 10, inside the 5, especially with these new additions,
Yep.
and and they're on their goal line, they're facing a little pressure, and we got these, we got Bobby Brown and Tiershon, so we got him coming in there with Derek Brown. Yeah, that's scary. You're not going to just be able to do what you want anymore, and it's going to show. And I'm telling you right now, special teams matter
Yep.
in that
Agreed.
situation. So Smooth, these moves here, they obviously scream defense, right? I mean, all
Hmm.
these guys. We only talked about a couple offensive guys. Everybody's been defense here. So let's run it down here. Second in points allowed last season, 54 total in points. That's the most in NFL history. Absolutely disgusting. What went wrong in your eyes? Talk to me about the defense.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's, first and foremost, I think everybody can point out injuries. I mean, injuries plagued our defense last year. With
Sir.
DB going down in week one, I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
the best defensive player that we have. Him going down for the season, oh my goodness, man.
Oof.
It couldn't get worse for that. And then, you have guys like Shaq going down for the season. He only played, I think, 5 games. There was other injuries littered throughout the defense, and it just sucked, man. I mean, guys were missing time left and right. And with that being said, like I said earlier, I like Evero, but at the same time, I'm kind of wishy-washy on him because when you realize that you don't have the personnel to do that, you have to find ways, if you are a good coach, to make up for those losses, for losses of personnel from injuries or just not having them in general. And I didn't really seem like it didn't seem to me that I saw a lot of change in scheme to try to make things better, because realizing how bad of a run defense that we were, you could easily switch it up to a 4-3 if you need to, and that would have helped our
Agreed.
run defense. But
Mm-hmm.
you didn't see that, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's just kind of like I think Evero's scheme can be good. I mean, we've seen it be good in the past, especially when he was in Denver. You can see it, but dude, you don't have the personnel right now. You cannot run that type of scheme with that personnel. You can't run a 3-4 with Shy Toto as your nose tackle. Come on, man. Like, I think anybody, even anybody that doesn't watch football can tell you that. So and it also didn't help that Dan had to take from the defense. I
Sure.
really was a big fan of Brian Burns. I'm not going to say he was an elite defensive end because I don't think he was. He a great defensive end? Yeah, but I don't think he was elite. And I think he lacked a little bit in the run defense partner. But anyways, that's kind of a whole for another whole episode too. But
Yeah, yeah,
regardless, Dan took from the D, and we kind of knew that we were going to probably see some regression from the defense. But golly, man, the injuries did not help, and
definitely.
yeah, it was just this defense. But I'm not gonna down on Dan too much because again, like I said earlier, this is something that's gonna take time. It's not knowing the position that we were in, the situation that we were in with our team and the state of our team. It's gonna take more than one off season. And anybody that's a realistic Panther fan knew that going into the season. Yeah, there was a lot of reasons that went into it, but I really like where the Panthers off season is going right now. I mean, I'm excited to see what it holds next season for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit it right on the button. I mean, there was, a number of things that went wrong last season for the Panthers defense. And I mean, you hit it right on the button. I mean, losing your best defensive player, okay, in being Derek Brown on that defensive line, losing him week one, and regardless of however that week one game played out, that's irrelevant. That's week one. Everybody's still working out the kinks. But losing a premier guy like that week one, who again is your number one run stopping guy, on a team that's already, even with him there, still in desperate need for run defense help. Take him out of the equation. Yeah, you're in trouble. You're in
Hmm.
trouble, period. And again, with the stubborn defensive coordinator who doesn't want to make adjustments, to fit the personnel, which again, we talked about it already. That's been, in my opinion, probably the curse of the Panthers. I
Yep.
mean, they weren't even doing this when we had Cam Newton. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like as much as Mike Shula was moving, and doing things for us. Like at one point, we were all posting pictures of scribbles as his playbook. You know what I mean? Because like
Mm-hmm.
we're not utilizing players to their potential. We're I know we see it
Yep.
all the time. Like perfect example, Jeremy Chin. Like what? How do you have Jeremy Chin on the team, but yet he's getting 37% of the snaps?
Yeah, man. It just makes me shake your head, honestly.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher, and it's a and again, I'm not coming at Avero either, because I like Avero. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, though, I wouldn't be mad if we moved on from him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending him, but injuries played a factor. His stubbornness definitely played a factor, and Coach Canales even kind of came out and said in the press conference, like, "Hey, don't worry, we're going to be making some adjustments to that scheme. We're going to implement more 4-3 looks." And our moves in the free agency 100% agree to that because you got yourself basically, two defensive tackles in Bobby Brown and Tiershawn. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely going to be the case here. So in a whole, man, it kind of comes around here, and you can
Yep.
definitely see that there was multiple factors that came into the Panthers defense not having success. But again, losing your guys like that. And then let's not also forget we lost Shaq Thompson too. And I said this on my other pod about our defensive struggles. We can't expect, the Sam Roberts. We can't accept the LeBron Rays. We can't expect these guys to play at a Derek Brown level, and perform. And
Mm-hmm.
then sit here and bash the defensive coordinator. Now, I'll bash the defensive coordinator because we're not tackling, right? Open field
Yep.
tackles we're missing. That's a coaching issue. We need to clean that up. We got to get that better. You know what I mean? But when our starting lineup, bro, is Jaden Crumdy, LeBron Ray, and
Yeah.
Ashawn Robinson, like what do you expect to happen?
Somebody's doing something wrong.
Exactly. Like, what do you expect to happen, folks? Like, you're not getting that production out of those players. That's why they're not Derek Brown. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Derek Brown's Derek Brown for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, that's just
Yep.
how this works, folks. You're not getting that kind of production out of those guys. But the one defense I will take for Evero before we move on is that we did get production out of these random players. Like, not for nothing, when I started doing the podcast, we had Lamar Jackson as our corner. Like, who? Like, this guy came in the
Mm-hmm.
traded camp. He was lighting it up. I'm like jumping on the table for this guy to make the team. He was out there making plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though he didn't make the team and we moved on or whatever, but like Dermontti Richardson, perfect example, guy you were talking about. You like him? Like, who? Like, we didn't even know this guy was on the team, but we're getting production out of these guys. Like, that's a testament to Evero there, right there. And not just scheme, but his coaching ability to really develop guys. Now, I would like to see that development come in for a guy named DJ Johnson that, we wanted to trade up for. And if you watch the blueprint, like you were saying, folks, if you watch these blueprints, they, what was it? Everyone's in there clapping and getting all crazy when we traded up to get DJ Johnson, who's done nothing. The dude, respectfully, has improved a little last season, but I'm not going to bash him here, but still at the same time, we're not seeing the production out of him nor the development that I would like to see out of a guy that our defensive coordinator was super high on and basically wanted us to get.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Agreed.
So, but no, none. It's been a disaster for the most part. But injuries coupled with everything else that's happened during the season for us, you're just not really gonna fare out well. And not for nothing, us winning 5 games, almost 6. I mean, there's honestly almost 7. We can say there's a few we almost won there that were close. I'll take it. I will 100% take it. And then with these additions that we just did, boy oh boy, I tell you, man, it's incredible. I think we are definitely 100% on the right trajectory. We're making the right moves. And I think Dan, Dave, and Brant Tillis were the right decisions for our franchise. And we are 100% headed in the right direction.
Agreed. 100%, man. I fully agree with you on that.
Oh, man, I love that. I love that. All right. My guy segment here, basically going to name a couple guys that I really like, that I'm really big on. And you can either co-sign or talk about a guy that you like after, and that will
Mm-hmm.
be your guy as well. But one of my hashtag my guys, my first one is going to be obviously one of the standouts from our recent grabs in the free agency here. and that's going to be Trayvon Merrick. Guy's 25, 6'1", 202, second round pick from the Raiders. Had 104 tackles last year, a sack, and a couple of picks. The dude's just an animal. We talked about it already. He was the Jim Thorpe winner in TCU. I mean, you just can't say enough about that. It's absolutely incredible. Big need, again, for years now, but finally addressed it. And he's young, so he could be here potentially for years to come. That's hashtag one of my guys. What do you think, Smooth? Is he your guy, or you got somebody else?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I think Merritt, kind of like I was saying earlier, I think Merritt's great. I think he fits exactly what this team needs. He's still not making 20 mil a season. I think he's right at 17, maybe tab it over, but I think that's great. I think that's great. I love everything that he stands for. I love his mentality. And yeah, man, yeah, home run hit for me for sure.
All right, I love it, man. Same here. Couldn't be a better decision here from the Dan and Dave up there. It's absolutely great move. All right, so my second guy here, moving on, it's going to be Bobby Brown that we just acquired. Another younger anchor piece here, 24 years old, 6'4", 325 plus. I mean, guy was a fourth rounder, which is incredible by the Rams. Talking about drafting well, getting guys in the later rounds and being able to hit, unbelievable, but he's hitting his prime right now. The dude's literally a beast. Talk to me. What do we got here?
Yeah, I mean Bobby Brown, I mean same thing
Oh,
as Mary, dude. I think
mm-hmm,
these guys fit exactly what we need. There's part of me that is more excited about Bobby Brown than any other signing that we have,
mm-hmm.
specifically because what he brings this team and the position he's going to play. Just being a nose tackle in a 3-4, you have to have a good nose tackle. And knowing that he's still so young and we have him for 3 more years at that, oh goodness, man, it's great. It's great. And him and DB for the next 3 years, it is going to be great. We have Deshaun Wharton as well. Like this D line is going to have some continuity for the next few years, and I really like this. And I think having a guy like DB who, yes, he excels a little bit more at run defense than pass rushing, but is an overall a great elite defensive tackle. You have your pass rush specialist in Wharton. You have your run stuffing defensive specialist in Bobby Brown. I mean, that is a recipe for a successful defensive line. And then you also on top of that want to throw in A-Rob. You have Cromedy that can take time. Now he's really, really adept piece. Take time, learn from a lot of good players, and then I'm sure we're going to add more in the draft. So I really enjoyed this pick for sure.
Love it, man. Love it. Yeah, same here, man. I mean, you hit it on the muscle. The guy's a absolute animal and a new anchor franchise piece for us here. Something that we absolutely desperately needed here in the Carolinas for that defensive line. You couldn't have said it any better, my guy. So, fun fact about him too. Apparently, at Texas A&M, he ate a whole family-sized pizza one time. At some team bonding event, and apparently, it's like a legendary story out there at Texas. So I know you're kind of close ties to that area. So look into that for me and let me know if you hear anything about that, because apparently it's a legendary story out there about him eating this whole pizza. That's pretty pretty crazy.
Yeah, for sure. If somebody finds a video or some kind of article on that, let me know because that I'd like to read that for sure.
Yeah, I gotta try to see if I can find something on it. But yeah, pretty crazy. Fun fact there. But all right, moving on. We'll wrap up the show here. Before we do, I just want to say, it was incredible talking with you, man. And I just your this show's been great, man. Your insights, your takes, everything, man. Your presence, your auras, everything's fantastic, man. I really can't say again how appreciative and how grateful that I am for you being here and doing this with me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, like, kind of like we were saying earlier, man, I just want to thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank God for the platform for just overall just being on Twitter and, being able to get to know everybody. And I want to thank, first of all himself for bringing me on his podcast and being his first, special guest, man. It's amazing. And it's a huge blessing. And I'm excited to see, where this Panther team goes and where both of our situations go. And, I'm excited to see everybody just continue to just mesh and, love to see Panthers Twitter get W's. So I'm excited to
Amen.
see how it's going to go this season, and let's keep going, everybody, keep pounding.
With that being said, when you do get your pod up and running, you already know, man, I love to be a guest, on your show. 100%. I'll be right there as soon as you need me. I'm there.
Yes, sir. We'll have to get it, man.
Yes, sir. Perfect. All right. So moving into the final conclusions here, we kind of transitioning perfectly here. You said it, state of the franchise. Final thoughts here. Where do you feel? Are we better? Are we worse from years past? Talk to me, Smooth.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think I think we're definitely in a better position. There's certain teams out there, specifically like the Raiders, for instance. They definitely took a step back, but I think the Panthers are taking a step forward this year. I'm excited to see where we're going. I think Dan and Co really have a vision for what they want this team to be. And it's just gonna take patience, man. It really is, and knowing where we came from through the rule era, and that was hell for a few seasons and stuff, and the Reich's experiment didn't work out either. I mean, we were really in a deep hole, man. And, just having that faith that we need to have in Dave and Dan. And I think it's really, really going to take notice. And, one little shout out that I want to give that a lot of people might disagree with is David Tepper. I mean, really, dude. I mean, I was not a big
Okay.
Tepper fan at
Okay.
all. And the reason, I point that out is because this season, I really think that he kind of took notice of kind of how everybody was feeling about, dude, you need to take a step back. Like,
Yeah.
you were a
Yeah.
little way too hands on. And
Agreed.
I think that I really think he did, and I genuinely think that David Tepper wants us to win. I mean,
Sure.
I mean, anybody in their right mind would want their team to win, and I really think that he was trying to reciprocate a lot of Pittsburgh's success coming from there. Being a
Absolutely.
franchise that has, Mike Tomlin has been there for over 10 plus years, and he has never had a below 500 record, and that's all Tepper was used to. He was just winning, winning, winning. So
Oh
he
yeah.
comes here and trying to make these quick fixes and not realizing, hey man, I need to be hands off and let my football guys do football guy things. And it took some time, and I really think that I think Tepper is starting to get it. I think he is because a lot of people have noticed that I haven't heard much about Tepper since last offseason. You haven't heard a lot about him being too hands on and all this kind of stuff. And Dave and Dan really seem like they're the ones in control of this team, and I love to see that. So
For sure.
just want to give a shout out to that. Mind you, there's still a lot of things that Tepper needs to do before I give him full credit, like put some grass on the dang field. Like we've been begging for this for years, especially the players. But I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I can see things turning around for sure. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this team, and yeah, man, I think the future's going to be bright. I really do.
I absolutely agree to that. So one thing that I was going to say is, yeah, Tepper definitely stepped back. You can 100% see that. And I said it on one of my pods. Basically, Tepper comes into Dan's office. Dan gives him them crazy eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Tepper ain't gonna want to mess with him. He's just gonna be like, yeah, hey, if you need anything, I'll be in my office. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like, then that was the main reason why I personally absolutely loved that signing of Dan Morgan being the GM, because he, in my opinion, I felt was the only person that would have been able to keep Mr. Tepper at bay. Because
yeah.
again, the guy, we all seen it in his initial press conference when he was the GM. Them crazy eyes, bro. You're not gonna mess with him.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely not messing with him. You're gonna, you're basically just gonna, hey, yeah, you got this, man. If you need anything, I'll be in my office. I'll cut the check. Don't worry about it. You got a handle on operations. And not only that, you can see the sincerity from Dan. You know what I mean? The guy was a true and true Panther. He started, he was drafted here, basically developed from us. And, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Agreed.
Like, he's one of our guys, and he knows what it takes to win. He was around with Sam Mills. He was here when we needed to win. He knows what it takes. He knows what the
Mm-hmm.
keep pounding means. He was there for that Sam Mills speech. He brings that essential, that element that we've been lacking, in a GM.
Yep. I agree with that, man, for sure.
So overall grade on the free agency here and all the moves together, I'm gonna go with an A minus overall with the moves and everything that we did this offseason. Very pleased with it from top to bottom. We already discussed it. Smooth, give me your grade. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I think I'm gonna give it a B plus. The only reason I'm a tad bit lower, and I think it could definitely improve. I just need to see kind of how Evero is going to display Merrick. That's a big thing for me because I kind of saw how he used Chin, so it worries me just a little bit. Seeing the Raiders also had him at free safety, I just want to make sure that he's going to be playing the correct position, and I know the website says that he's going to be playing that, but until I see it with my own eyes, with me being a little hesitant with Evero this past season, I'm gonna be a little temper on my expectations. But that, and then the little Sam Martin thing, not too big on my thing, but you know, just like I said, that's kind of a stopgap situation. But other than that, really,
Sure,
man, I
sure.
mean, I think the contract breakdowns are really well. There were some really great signings. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a B+, and I definitely think it can improve. Just kind of seeing how a few things play out and just making sure everything's playing how I ideally see it playing out. And yeah, I definitely think it can improve to an A for sure.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely agree, man. Again, we definitely hit a lot of key factors. I couldn't be more happier with the moves that we made. I mean, we are really headed in the right direction. And I agree that we are definitely better off from years past. We are 1000% on the rise, folks. Believe that. If you didn't know, Panther fans, Panther Nation, we are on the rise. These moves, whether you agree or disagree, are for the betterment of the franchise and the future of this team. 100%.
Hmm.
So again, I couldn't be more grateful for having Smooth on my show today. I mean, again, this has been probably one of the most exciting podcasts that I've done so far, and definitely one of the longest, which I'm not saying in a bad way. So I mean, I am very excited for this, man. Again, I appreciate you greatly. I cannot express enough my gratitude for you to come on and and have these conversations with you, Smooth. Again, man, you're the man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Again, thank you for so much for having me on here, man. And I'm excited for, the rest of Panthers Nation and the Panthers team itself. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for us. It's exciting. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. So let's keep pounding, baby.
Amen. Yeah, same here, man. Why don't you shout out your Twitter handle one more time before we get out of here, so everybody knows where they can follow you, catch out more, your takes, your upcoming pod, all that stuff that you're going to be working on. Give the folks a drop where they can find you at.
Yeah, for real. So, I'm on Twitter right now. It's the main one. Might branch off to other platforms here in the future, but that's where I'm at now. And the at is the B Lancaster. The BLANCASTER. So yeah, man. Everybody, hop on my page and shoot me a follow. And yeah, man. Let's continue to grow this community and hope I can make everybody happy and yeah, interact with everybody and have a great time. Just continue to blow up the Panthers community and let's keep pounding, baby.
Amen, my brother. Amen. Well, you heard it here, folks. Go follow my guy here. You heard him. That's iBLSmooth at the B Lancaster. Get it, folks. Make sure you go follow him right now. All right. But that's going to be a wrap for this show. Thank you for tuning in to First and Goal. Again, a huge shout out to my guy here, iBLSmooth, for joining me. Please go follow him again if you haven't already. And until next time, folks, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, keep pounding. First and Goal, out.